So this is the iPhone 16 Pro, and I've had it since launch day, and it's basically still in brand new condition. And in this episode, what I want to do is talk about my 6 months later experience with the iPhone 16 Pro and share you everything with you that I've learned about it, and if it's going to still be a great option for you to consider. So let's talk about the very first one, and that's the design and the build of this phone. How does it feel? How does it look? How does it hold up? And the honest truth is, it feels phenomenal. This is like one of my favorite phones on the market today for the feel in the hand. It is a little bit heftier than something like a Galaxy S25, for example, but look at those bezels. They are ultra thin. And why I get excited about using the 16 Pro is because the 16 Pro rests in the hand so nicely, but at the same time, you're going to find it also not be too large. So this has been one of my favorite sweet spot iPhones ever created, the iPhone 16 Pro after 6 months. Also, I haven't dropped it too much. I do use a thin case for it, but you can see it's basically in brand new condition in this white titanium version. And overall, it's just a very durable product, just like the bigger 16 Pro Max and the other 16 lineup. So attention to detail is still there. The durability is still strong. And that's one of the great things about iPhones is that they're very durable devices. So the next one is the display. So this is going to be a 120 hertz display. So that's definitely a ProMotion smooth panel. It's just a very smooth scrolling panel. But this display is very bright outdoors. Specifically, it's easy to crank this thing up when getting in direct sunlight. And I just love the display. It's smooth. It's well accurate colors. It's saturated. It's everything around about this display is pretty darn good. It's not the best anti-reflective. Like if you want anti-reflection, that's going to be Samsung's phone, the S25 Ultra or S24 Ultra. But other than that, and the dynamic island does get in the way a bit if you care about that. But for how I use this phone, I don't really care anymore. I still want an all-screen iPhone, but I feel like that dream is not came true yet. At the same time, text is plenty sharp like previous editions, but what I really like is going back to this sweet spot size and the reduced bezels. It feels like I'm using almost like the older Max phone displays, but in a smaller format. Also, I do like how you can raise the font on any phone, but this phone is easy to read because of the sharpness and the width of the panel. So it's pretty wide, so the text spreads out nicely, content spreads out nicely, and overall, the phone just feels like a very nice, pleasant, day-to-day, one-handed, portable experience without feeling tiny and without feeling cumbersome or too large. This is just a great overall display right here. It also does have really good always-on display feature, which is good, but good density, 460 pixels per inch, basically very sharp when you get close to the text, although there are phones that are better with that. So if you want a sharper display, just a little bit crispier to the eye, there are phones that are better than that. But I just think the 6.3, the way they achieved this with 90.1% screen to body ratio, or basically no screen or no bezel really, no bezel really, this phone is just an excellent overall panel. So that's how I feel about it after 6 months. Now when it comes to the performance, we are looking at the Apple A18 Pro chip here. It's clocked higher than the lower tiered versions of this phone. It has a better overall performance when you look at benchmarks. In addition, it does have 8 gigabytes of RAM, so it is a pretty good multitasker, better than some of the older iPhones. So if you're coming from an older iPhone and you just want to switch between your apps and have less reloads, this is going to be a bit better than those. However, what I will state is that it has been overtaken by some of the competition with some other latest phones out there. Specifically, some of the Galaxy S phones are now faster than this. But at the same time, I don't really seem to notice any speed slowdown day to day. Tends to have a more relaxed feel. That's really an iOS thing. But generally, I find it to be better with the thermals when using games. Although I don't really play a lot of games on this one. I have tested them out before. I tend to keep this just for productivity and practical use because it's a one-handed device. Gaming I tend to do on my bigger phones, but this one can still do a decent job as well. So when it comes to the performance check, it's been really, really strong. I still want more RAM on the iPhone, and I want a true multitasking ability with iOS 19. I still think this is still enough size to do some multitasking split screen. Even on this one, still not available. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm not really feeling a lack for performance, but I feel like Apple could improve it, especially in the speed of the animations. They could be a little bit faster and snappier, and they could add more RAM with an actual true multitasking feature so we can take advantage of this power a little bit more. Now, when it comes to the battery life, if you look at the spec sheet, it does say something like 3582 milliamp hour, which is basically a pretty medium sized battery. It's not huge. However, because of the efficiency of the chip and the optimization of iOS, along with Apple continuously updating it if they find issues with it, you tend to have, and better thermals, you tend to have a really good battery life on this phone, as in it can go all day without needing to charge. Now, the 16 Pro Max is all day and like a half of the next day without a charge. This one I'm charging every night, but the Max is definitely one that I'm going to charge at almost 2 days. So this is not quite that good, but it's shockingly good for its size. This is one you can get, and rest assured that you're not getting a bad battery life even if you get the smaller phone. So some of the older iPhones, you pay $1,000 and they wouldn't have great battery life. So it didn't feel like a really good deal. This one now at $1,000, you are still getting yourself a really good long all day battery life, even with some medium to heavy use for sure. Now, when it comes to thermals and throttling, this phone can still get a little bit warm, especially when you have a charger plugged into the USB-C and you're playing a game. It can warm up a little bit depending on the title as well. When you're first downloading it, it takes a lot of power to do that and get this thing loaded up. But I haven't found it to be anywhere near as toasty as the iPhone 15 Pro. So if you want a phone that doesn't get really hot in the hand, you might really like the 16 Pro or Pro Max, any of the 16. They do a lot better in this department. Although they're not perfect and they can get throttled in certain situations. So these are not dedicated gaming phones, although developers tend to make games work very well on the iPhone 16 series. So it's been phenomenal. It really has. Now, talking about the camera of this device, I have actually grown fond of the camera control button, mostly because I like to just kind of click that to open the camera. It becomes like a habit to just click it, and then you don't have to ever really open up the phone and hit the camera or have an action button trigger it, because the action button is kind of small. You could say, well, you could just do that in the 15 series, but look at that button compared to that button. So that's a much more easy to feel out button. Now, I will say, and we had some crazy lag right there, so that's why I said the performance is not perfect. Sometimes you can get some issues. But right here, you can see that I don't really tend to do this. I think this is slower and clunkier, so I don't ever really mess with these features right here, because it just takes too long. Like, I could just do this much faster, just kind of switching here or just kind of zooming like that. That's just much quicker and much more by habit. But the general photography and actual quality has been superb. I think I just bumped the mic. Let me back it up a little bit. But it's been really good. Also, the video quality, cinematic, 4K 60, these cameras, they've been pretty superb. And one of the things that still holds me to the iOS platform is the iOS updates. They come in very regularly and much better than some of the competition. So this phone feels very well supported by comparison to some other phones out there. I do think Google does a good job with the Pixel line as well. But definitely this phone gets updates very fast and regularly. And when bugs do come out, we don't have any major issues. So I've loved the iOS updates. iOS, though, is getting kind of long in the tooth. I think they need to really mix it up, maybe change up the look to it, or even like, add some features that are just like much newer, because they don't really add. I mean, they do add things, don't get it twisted, but they haven't added anything groundbreaking in such a long time. So I want to see like something very, very groundbreaking. Like, I'm going to say it again, a split screen multitasking. Android phones are going to say, that's not groundbreaking. But for iPhone users, that would be a massive deal, because I always have to go to my iPad to do anything split screen on a iOS based platform, iPad OS. I should be able to do it on the fly on my iPhone. So that's the feature I'm looking forward to. I think a lot of you might be as well. But if you're not, what feature are you looking forward to Apple introducing or changing up in the future iOS experience. Now, one of the things that's very useful about this phone that the iPhone 16e doesn't have is MagSafe. So I got this MagSafe stand right here. So we can go ahead and move this around, and you could see that pretty strong magnet there on the iPhone. And you could see right here, definitely just a very strong magnet. So I definitely like having MagSafe on here. It's also very useful for cases and other car accessories and wallet accessories attachments. So I do like that. And 6 months later, I have to say I am digging the resale value on this phone. You can get several hundreds, near 1,000 back right now if you were to sell this, because it's still the freshest phone out there at the current time. So how do I feel? Final verdict on this phone at the end of this period of using it so far. We're past 6 months already. I gotta say, it's been phenomenal. It really has. The thing about it though is it's still kind of boring because it's not like that much different than the 15 Pro, but I do like the upgrades. It really has made it feel a little more polished, and it feels like ahead of a lot of other phones, mostly to me because of those ultra thin, razor thin bezels. Like this makes it feel ahead of a lot of the other phones in terms of design and like just this like luxurious feel to it. Also, having this size of a phone that feels like almost like a 6.1 with a 6.3 and super long battery is not that easy to come by in the industry. So this is a pretty unique proposition here. There's not a lot of phones that match this one right here specifically, even though this is not the most popular in the lineup. So I don't really have regrets picking this up. It's been a really good experience. However, I do look forward to see where they go with the 17 series, how much they can improve. And will we see foldables and iPhone Airs in the future? We'll have to find out. So stay tuned, stay subscribed for that. And let me know your thoughts on the 16 Pro after 6 months. I'd love to hear your take. Did you pick one up? Are you planning on picking one up? Do you dislike it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let us know down below. I'll catch you on the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.